Windhoek has two large bodies of water, the Avis Dam in the east and the Goreangab Dam in the west. The dams were built during pre-colonial times, and therefore the surrounding communities on either side are remarkably different. The Avis Dam is used mostly by wealthy communities and tourists. It is surrounded by green suburbs and expensive houses. On the other hand, the Goreangab Dam and its surroundings, also a space for local recreation, has been neglected. The Gammams and Klein Windhoek River flow right through the city, where they pass each other at the Simon de Wit Bridge. The dry riverbeds of almost 200 hectares in both rivers are infested with criminal activity and rubbish, spaces that the city has learnt to fence off and ignore. The Riverwalk Initiative, a non-profit association in partnership with the City of Windhoek, have decided to change the status quo of our dams and riverbeds. The Riverwalk Initiative promises to transform urban public spaces and non-motorized transport in Windhoek through the construction of a 20-kilometer walkway. The stakeholders hope to address a number of social issues with the initiative. Amongst others, they aim to create safer spaces in our riverbeds. Tonight in studio with us is Nangula Shilongo from the Riverwalk Initiative. Good evening, viewers, and welcome to One Exclusive. The Riverwalk Initiative aims to bridge gaps physically between the impoverished and the privileged. Tonight with us in studio is Nangula Shilongo from the Riverwalk Initiative. How are you tonight?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm all right, man. So you really believe in the Riverwalk Initiative. You are part of this association. And maybe you can just tell us exactly how is this going to work? You're going to be linking Avis Dam with Goreangab Dam. Tell us a bit about that.
The Riverwalk Initiative is a project that aims to link Avis Dam and Goreangab Dam, like you said, by creating pathways that allow for movement from the two between the two dams.
Non-motorized movement.
Non-motorized movement, but it's not only about the pathways. It's also an economic. It's an economic opportunity for the city because along these pathways, many things can happen. You can have businesses that open up at activity nodes on the river.
Yeah. And I mean, if we look at the spaces, the urban river sites we have at the moment, we are neglecting them. We are turning our backs on them. They are dump sites. They are sites of crime. So how are you going to address this? I mean, there's got to be some shift of mindset, surely.
At the moment, rivers are treated as dump sites. Everyone faces away from them. No one faces them. And that creates an opportunity for criminals to hide in there. And they're actually very unsafe. And people don't, they don't feel safe. They don't have a positive outlook on them. So what the Riverwalk would like to do is to encourage property owners who live along the river to open up onto the river, to develop their properties onto that side. So that creates a visual link. It puts eyes on the rivers, and that creates also...
So all these properties that have walled up against the rivers, you're saying we're building this river walk, turn your property to face the other way, break those walls down, become a part of this interaction. Now let's just talk about physically it's a very big project. I mean, you are talking about how many kilometers exactly from Goreangab to Avis?
It's approximately 12 kilometers.
Sure. All right. Yeah. So that means that anybody from Goreangab Dam can walk all the way to Avis Dam or ride their bicycles.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
And you guys have done a lot of environmental impact studies. You've done a lot of, different things to see how you're really going to bring this to light. Just tell us about the infrastructural developments.
The river running from Goreangab Dam is the Gammams River, and the river running from Avis Dam is the Klein Windhoek River. So it's actually not one river. There will be some engineering connections that would need to be made at the Simon de Wit Bridge.
So that's where the two rivers come past each other?
Yes, that's where they come past each other closest. And then other infrastructural developments would obviously be the pathways. And then there would also be considerations for like flood lines and the current sewer system that's running in there. So all those studies need to be done to ensure that it all works.
Now, does this mean you guys will be putting up, obviously, building pathways, would it be concrete pathways, or are you going to stick to the natural routes?
Well, those are details of design that haven't been resolved at this stage, but we have an urban designer who's done the studies who will be in charge of the overall framework for the design.
Fantastic. And there are two other things that I want to touch on infrastructurally. The first is sanitation. You're going to be building toilets, I presume?
Well, that's very likely, yes, seeing as we're creating a public space. But again, in terms of design detailing, that hasn't been resolved yet.
All right. Okay, but I mean, the idea is that communities who maybe do not have access to proper sanitation could then use the facilities on the Riverwalk.
Yes, that's the idea, because at the moment the river is used as a toilet, unfortunately.
There's quite an ideological shift. I think a lot of people maybe not understanding properly what we're trying to do here. There will be large opportunities for the local communities, especially in the lesser privileged areas.
The Riverwalk Initiative will impact just the properties that are currently on the river, about 3,000 households. And those people will have will be impacted directly. They'll have opportunity to develop their properties on the river. There's a lot of economic opportunity involved, and that's just speaking about the people who live on the river. But the people who live in the hinterlands will also have access to these economic nodes. And then overall for the whole city, the Riverwalk Initiative will provide non-motorized transport. It supports the Harambee Prosperity Plan in terms of creating jobs, economic development. It supports the Move Windhoek in terms of creating non-motorized transport, and it supports the Omake initiative, which clears up the riverbeds to prevent crime.
There's a big Riverwalk initiative in San Antonio that's been going on for years now. It's been hugely successful, but their big drawing factor is tourism. Do you believe that there's a demand for tourists for something like this?
Definitely, because at the moment, tourists don't really come to Namibia to stay in Windhoek. It's where they arrive and then they go off to more touristy destinations. But the Riverwalk would be definitely something that encourages tourism within the city, because there would actually be something for them to see.
And that would create business as well. I mean, if there's a Riverwalk next to my house, I can sell vetkoek on the side of the road, or I can take a group of people, a group of Chinese tourists down the Riverwalk and, you know, tell them about the local flora and fauna, which brings us to the next topic, the ecology. Now, you guys are also really making sure that you preserve the natural flow of things. Tell me a little bit about that.
The Riverwalk would like to encourage the growth of indigenous fauna and flora. There are already animals and things like that that live within the riverbeds, because if you see it, it's a beautiful, like, natural vegetation. I think the lack of water in it isn't really a drawback, as some people might imagine. There's no water in it, it's, you know.
Yeah, our flora is quite resilient, you know. A lot of our plant species can grow without water. Now, I don't think if there's anything else we touched upon. The other thing is safety, really. Now, it's easy to say we want to create safe spaces in the riverbeds, but I mean, who will be benefiting from this? Surely school children as well?
School children will benefit because they'll have a route that they can walk to safely to school and back, and they don't have to get onto the highways, and there won't be a risk of them being attacked, which at the moment is what's happening.
Yes, no, definitely. And I mean, so on the one hand, it is offering safety for women and children. On the other hand, it's also encouraging non-motorized transport. So it's also addressing the problem of high accident rates that we have in the city of Windhoek. But you guys have a lot to do, and I think it's really going to be an urban project. I mean, if I look at the plans, you will be passing churches and schools. And what are some of the places, the well-known areas that we know of, that the Riverwalk will be passing?
We have the Dagbreek School in Klein Windhoek, which is already quite close to the river and could benefit from this kind of initiative. And then you have some...
So the Dagbreek School, where there are the kids with physical and mental disabilities, how is it going to be benefiting them?
I think they could, in terms of developing their own school, they could definitely use the river for, let's say, fundraising purposes. They want to have a market on the river, or they want to have some sporting activities on the river. But overall, the kind of environment is very good for
definitely. For recreation.
Exactly.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Nangula, for your time. After the break, ladies and gentlemen, we will have a little bit more on the fantastic Riverwalk Initiative. The San Antonio Riverwalk is a landmark pedestrian promenade in south central Texas. It has been uplifting the surrounding communities for decades. The Riverwalk in Windhoek also promises to be one of a kind, creating safe spaces for businesses and social integration. However, a project of such a magnitude takes considerable time to plan, and it needs support from an array of stakeholders to ensure its success. After the break, we speak to Councillor Amadhila from the City of Windhoek to find out how they are supporting the Riverwalk Initiative. Welcome back, viewers. With us in studio is Councillor Amadhila from City of Windhoek to talk a little bit more about the Riverwalk Initiative. Now, sir, we've heard a little bit from the Riverwalk Initiative themselves, but there's definitely a stake from government. How is government involved in this?
I'm not here to talk about government, etc., but maybe from the side of the City of Windhoek.
Perfect.
The previous councillor did endorse a resolution to support the Riverwalk project. That's how it started.
Fantastic.
Now, before I became a councillor to the City of Windhoek, I was accidentally involved in 2011, where we have the first meeting addressed by Leon Barnard, with not knowing that I will become a councillor one day. So now I'm involved, and I'm trying by almost to work hard to push this project to become a reality.
Why do you believe in it so much?
We come from an era of our roads was not built within the city to cater for cycling, walking path, go with your dog and walk for a weekend, jogging, etc. That's why I'm working so hard and to make this project of Riverwalk a reality. If we can work together, the community, the government, the City of Windhoek, business people, each and everyone, we can create with the Riverwalk 3,000 plus minus employment.
Sure.
At the moment, there is 3 nodes which was identified. Avis, Eros, and I think Dall. This Riverwalk, it's starting from Avis through to Katutura in Wanaheda.
And it cuts straight through town.
Yeah, I think it's plus minus 23 kilometers.
Fantastic. This is now 200 hectares of riverbed that we're looking at developing. And obviously, yes, as you said, that there is an important need for recreation and for physical activity. But there are also more socio-economic effects, especially for, communities in lesser privileged areas. What are those things that you recognized?
First, this Riverwalk, as I said, it can create employment. You can put smaller business along the sides, on the bench of the Riverwalk, like small coffee shops. You can sell flowers, etc., etc. Medium and small business entrepreneurship. Those are people we are targeting. Definitely. And that's why we want this Riverwalk to start working.
Obviously, there are going to be people who are not very keen on the Riverwalk. I'm thinking maybe property developers, estate agents, people who see there's really economic value for developing property along the Riverwalk. Have you encountered any naysayers?
At the moment, yes. But first, the City of Windhoek decided to give a go-ahead. That's where the city must come in now, the land. I believe we have to sign an agreement with the City of Windhoek and to drive this project and to allow these people who wants to set up this kind of businesses
To do so freely.
to do so freely. If we can have that special agreement, you can call it, it will work.
Fantastic, fantastic. So there's really nothing stopping us at the moment. How far are we from seeing this project kicking off physically?
First, the most important, the funds.
Yes.
If you don't have these funds, it will be in support from financial institution, business people, the government. Those are the players we want to get into this project.
So we need financial buy-in.
We need financial. I think we did the, especially for Leon Barnard Architects, the City of Windhoek, they start already putting funds for drawing these plans. Marketing is needed, like you people, One Africa's television. It's a marketing structure. Players in the industries. The Harambee Prosperity Plan. Those are the people we have to target.
Because I mean, this is a very innovative and effective way of addressing poverty. It's really creating opening spaces that we usually closed for tourism, for instance, so that people can really start feeding off the land in a way. But as you said, it's not an easy project. From the City of Windhoek, could you give us a bit of background? For instance, floodlines is something that we have to cater for. So it's not just scraping, with a broom, making a little path from one dam to the other.
Yes, it is true. As I said before, the City of Windhoek, they are really putting effort as well. Councillors agreeing, they approve. It's now to us as private sectors to come in. The other thing is the fear which was there. People are saying it's a rich people project. It's not true. That's not true. We try to cater each and everyone in this project. As I indicated before, this riverbeds start from Avis to Wanaheda, Goreangab Dam, and we identify some nodes, 3 nodes, Avis, Eros, and Dall.
Fantastic. I have to stop you there, Councillor. That's unfortunately all we can do tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. If you have any comments or remarks on this fantastic project, be sure to SMS us at 555.